Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Steve, and this week we've gone a little bit zingy and we've gone from a recommendation. So thank you to a certain friend who sent in that recommendation. Quick one though, if you do want to see any other products or ideas, flavours, foods put out for a little review like this, feel free to just leave a comment rather than contacting me directly. Thank you. But as I say, this week we have now got Jaffa cakes, and this is possibly going to be a two-parter. So we've got quite a few of the supermarkets, I think it was all of them in fact, offering up some form of orange flavoured Jaffa cake, and quite a few of them also had various flavours. So this one, part one so to speak, is going to be the orange based ones, and then there'll be a part two with all the different fruity flavours. Hopefully they'll be nice. Right, so to start off, of course, we go through the normal run through of all the wonderful details that you love to see for your diets and nutritionally knowing people. And we start off, of course, as ever, with price. And the winner in this one is Aldi Essentials, coming in at 20 pence per 100 grams. This is in contrast to Waitrose, which had 96 pence per 100 grams of Jaffa cake. Quite a bit of difference. I wonder if there will be a corresponding flavour difference. Kind of hope so. You'd think so, between an Essentials basic one and then a premium retailer brand, but as I say, this is what it's all about, isn't it? Okay, next up, calories. We start there with the winning being Wedel, Wedel I believe it is, yep, with 350 calories. And worst, on the other hand, is Marks and Spencer's at 407. So not a huge range, but I suppose enough. Okay, and then you've got the fat figures, which again goes to Wedel for the winning one, which is 7 grams per 100 being fat, versus, once again, M&S, which is at 13.4. When it comes to the saturated fats, so it's a brand called Schär, which admittedly I possibly picked up by mistake, as they're a gluten-free one. But now they're here, I'm quite interested to see how they stack up in the whole measure of things. And anyway, for saturated fats, those ones are the Schär is 3.3 grams being saturated. Again, still on the worst hand though is M&S at 7.3 grams being saturated fat. After that, we've got sugars, and once again it's the Schär which are winning at 44 grams. In contrast, it's Morrisons this time, coming in at 53.7. So again, not a huge variance, but I suppose enough to anyone who is counting those. Next figure up on our usual run is salt, which goes back to being the Wedel with 0.07 grams, which is I think possibly the lowest figure I've seen for salt figures, but I suppose it is a Jaffa cake biscuit. Ooh, come on to that in a moment. And the worst being the Schär with 0.53, and that's over twice the next value down, which was McVities' own, which was, I say, like half that figure. So I know it's still not a huge salt figure, but yeah, still quite a discrepancy between the standard ones and that gluten-free. Okay, so I also had a quick look at the percentage of chocolate, which in this instance Waitrose comes out on top with 24% being chocolate. And on the opposite end it's the Wedel, which was only 15%. So yeah, this should be quite a noticeable difference in the level of chocolate. Interestingly, some of them also list the percentage of cocoa within their chocolate. Schär didn't list any other chocolate type. Sainsbury's had 48%, Wedel 50%, Tesco's 49%, M&S 56%. Then it came to juice content. The winner became Aldi and Waitrose, which had 12% juice in their the little zingy orange bit. Very good. Next down would be McVities with 8%. M&S had 4.5%, Schär 2.6%, Morrisons 2%, and the rest all were quoting 1%. Right on then, let's get things kicked off without any further ado. And we're starting this week with Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's. The orange flavour it's there, but the actual zingy orange jammy bit, it went straight through. I barely noticed any of it, so that's a bit disappointing. Flavour is good though. The sponge bit was a bit dry. So flavour, I'm going to say is 38, just because I missed having that orange zingy, you know, when you get that orange jelly bit and you really can enjoy that. It's, you know, you've got a nice zingy flavour there. However, because that jelly bit just didn't seem to really hang around much, I missed out on that, and that's part of the fun. Of course, I know also some of you will probably eat the Jaffa cakes in certain ways, nibble around the outside and then thank for it, or take off the chocolate and then layer by layer, each to their own. How I eat it will remain a mystery. Normally anyway. But for this test, it will just be a straight go for it, rather than by my normal methods. So, flavour accuracy. Yeah, I don't see too many issues. I mean, reading there, they say a dark chocolate with a tangy orange centre. It wasn't that tangy, as I say, because it didn't hang around that much. But overall, the flavour was good. It all worked well. So it's going to be a 15 because it was all there, just not that super zingy or tangy, etc. As to texture, that's going to be a 6. As I say, it felt quite a dry one. So I mean, still relatively spongy and such, but don't know whether it's just that it was an old packet or such, but yeah, because of that dryness, it's only going to get that 6. Okay, next up we have Aldi, and once again, their Belmont range, which, yeah, we'll see how they fare. Okay. In contrast, these had the gel, the orange gel, staying around for quite a bit longer. Definitely noticed it being there, whereas the chocolate then just became a supporting flavour. It was just in flavour terms, but not in terms of, you know, noticing you had chocolate. Interesting contrast. Flavour, once again, it was good. Yeah, because you had a bit more time with the orange being around in the mouth, it helped bring up the flavour there, I'd say. So that's going to be a 40 for flavour. Not too bad, really. It's still not like a super zing of things, but yeah, pretty good. Flavour accuracy. Now these quoted as being plain chocolate rather than the dark chocolate I believe the Sainsbury's was. And it seemed more like a dark chocolate to me. It was quite a strongly flavoured chocolate. So, with that in mind, it's going to be a 16, I'd say, because everything was there, quite nice. Yeah, 16. Good work. Texture was still a little dry, not as like the Sainsbury's one, but there was something about it. It just didn't quite seem right in terms of the sponge. But so it's just going to knock it up a bit to 7 because it was that little bit better than the Sainsbury's. Okay, next up it's again Aldi, but their everyday essentials, so the cheaper range. We've also got Asda, which had their Smartprice, which we'll see later on, as well as a standard version from them. So we'll see how these basic ones stack up in comparison. Alright. When I said the Sainsbury's was dry, ain't got nothing on this. In the biscuit versus cake debate, these fall quite a lot closer towards the biscuit end of the scale. You know, again, it might be unlucky from being the packet or what, but that was, yeah, definitely closer to being a biscuit. Flavour though, yeah, not too bad at all. Had all the similar flavouring hallmarks of before, but passed through a bit quicker, so it's middle ground, 39 for flavour. Flavour accuracy, yeah, it's pretty accurate in terms of flavour, so I'll match it to the other Aldi and say 16 for that. Texture, I'm sorry, it was too dry and hard, so it's gonna be a 3. Well, I suppose it is the basic essentials one, so I suppose they had to make some compromises somewhere. Unfortunately, for this instance, it's going to be there. Okay, and then on to Wedel, which is one of only 3 branded ones that we found for this week's taste test. Let's see how they go. Nice little touch on the background there, a little signature of Wedel. Doesn't affect the flavour though. Wow, that was surprisingly sweet. Quite a different eating experience compared to all the previous ones so far. The chocolate was just a really soft, straight through. You didn't, I'm normally expecting a bite, a bit of a bite in resistance from the chocolate, but that just as if it melted before I even tried to eat it. It's well, certainly a different experience. It kind of taken me a little back there. Flavour though, it was a different kind of set of flavours. Very sweet though, almost had a slightly granular sugary texture, but I'll come to that later. Flavour though, because of how sweet it was, it's going to be 30. It was nice, but it's like you were eating sugar in there. It's that kind of level of sweetness, which is a surprise given the sort of the figures that it came out with, being sort of low in the sugars and such, or certainly not at the top. Anyway, flavour accuracy. Let me see. I suppose it was all there, but because of the sweetness, it's kind of taken it back. So again, I know that's from the flavour as well. But impacts upon the accuracy as far as I'm concerned. So that's going to be a 10 in this instance. As to texture, as I say, you had no sort of bite from the chocolate. There was quite a lot of graininess, as I say, which seemed like as if you'd eaten almost a granulated sugar within it, and it hadn't mixed through properly. Maybe I don't think that's what it was, but that's the kind of texture feeling I got. And as I say, it's a totally different eating experience by comparison to every other Jaffa cake I've had before, not just within this taste test, but that I can ever recall. So that's going to be 5, mostly knocked down because of that sort of grittier texture, rather than anything odd against the otherwise eating style. Okay, up now is Morrisons Jaffa cakes. You know what, that was really pretty good for like a standard supermarket one. Sponge was, you know, right, nice and spongy. Chocolate definitely there, you noticed it. Had a bit of a crunch to it. And the orange jelly was definitely there. Again, it was quite a bit of jelly that you could chomp on, so to speak. So that's really impressive Jaffa cake, Morrisons. Thank you very much. So, flavour had a good zing to it. You know, it's not a super zingy one, but you know what, you've done well on flavour there. I'm going to give that 45. Flavour accuracy, again, yeah, it was pretty much as all as you could want. Yeah, 18 I think with that. It's, yeah, other than having a little bit more zing and punch behind on the orange, I'd possibly take it up to the full marks, but that's not to put it down. It did have a nice orange kick to it. And texture, as I said, that's pretty much 10 points. It was everything you wanted it to be. This sponge that was spongy and the rest all coming through as it should be doing. So well done, Morrisons. 10 out of 10. Okay, and with that we move on to our next contender, Co-op. Okay, that was back to similar being to the Sainsbury's one. The orange gel part, pretty much, you know, forget about it being there. Quite a lot of chocolate that had a, you know, good crunch and such on it, but way too much sponge, and it ended up being really sort of claggy. I don't want a claggy sponge from a Jaffa cake. So, oh dear. Flavour, the orange was, I'd say, definitely just a supporting flavour, but I don't think it's as strong as it was back on the Sainsbury's one. It's going to be 37. Flavour accuracy, well, yeah, orange flavour was there, but it's not like we want it to be. And the flavour, as I say, because the sponge went a bit sort of gooey and claggy within because of so much of it, it kind of spoiled what was there down to being a 13. Then for texture, yeah, I mean, I thought the dry hard crispy ones was terrible. So let's put it down onto that. It was that annoyingly bad. It just was too much sponge. 3. Dear me. Okay, we now have the offering from Tesco's. That is again another disappointment, unfortunately. Possibly not quite as bad as Co-op. But not quite as good as Sainsbury's. It was kind of a mixture of the two in that it's the orange jelly part, again, still not exactly present. The chocolate, again, just not coming up to scratch. And sponge section, it was midway between the too much of Co-op and the level that was within Sainsbury's, but so it just stopped short of being claggy like the Co-op one. Flavour is going to be 37. Flavour accuracy, looking at it back now, it's like, was it there? It was, but not overwhelmingly so, so it's a 14. Texture, as I say, it was better than the Co-op one because there wasn't quite so much taken away from things. But is it as good? Ooh, it's going to be a 5 because it started to almost feel as if there was too much sponge to it, and didn't otherwise impress. 5. Okay, so we're now on to Asda's Smartprice. I say the other sort of cheaper saving money version that we have this week. Hopefully these can redeem things back up to normal grounds. Oh blast. That was another one of those really crunchy ones, or what, like the previous one that I had earlier. Oh dear. Flavour. Things are there. Yeah. But oh. So it could be a 38. It wasn't strongly flavoured in any particular way to really throw you. Then again, it is one of those economy ones, so should I be surprised? No. Does it still leave me slightly disappointed? Yes. Flavour accuracy, as I was saying, it was all there, but would I say it's fully that? Probably because of how dry and crunchy it was, no, but the flavours were there, so that'd be nice, because it did taste orange and chocolatey. 15, that's possibly a bit generous, but I'm in a good mood because it's chocolatey orangeness. Texture, like that, as I said, that other one beforehand, it was just ridiculously crunchy and dry. So 3, I think, was what I gave before, and it's going to be that this time as well. Right, and onto the standard Asda offering. Hopefully it can prove to be a bit better. Right, we're back to that same kind of poor, slightly dry, slightly no orange gel disappointment that we've seen, unfortunately, several times through this taste test. Dang. I mean, flavours were there and it tasted good enough, but not great. 38 for flavour. Accuracy, well, I guess it was there, but it seemed to be not even quite as strong. But no, it was there. You had orange flavour, you had the chocolate, it just had a slightly dry sponge to it. But 15, I guess, is what I believe I gave the other one, so it only matches. So it seems spot on for that, to be fair. Texture, it's that same disappointment, that's slightly dry, that's slightly missing the jelly fiveness that others have been. How hard is it for these guys to get these Jaffa cakes? Probably very difficult, and I would never make one myself. But come on, guys, dang, step it up, all of you. Okay, now hopefully we should be onto safer territory. We've got McVities, which I'm sure is going to be the biggest seller for the Jaffa cakes. They are the ones that I believe everyone knows as being the providers of Jaffa cakes, so they should be good. I'm pleased to say, yes, we are back on safe territory. That is, yeah, it's more like what we expect to see from a Jaffa cake, thankfully. Flavour, yes, it had everything that we were after. A very nice like sponge and so on, all the flavours coming through. Admittedly, the orange wasn't quite as zingy as I have in my memory, but still, it was all very tasty, and I'm going to say 45 for that. Flavour accuracy, it's yeah, it's flavoury, it's accurately flavoured. As I said, I'd probably liked a little bit more of the orangey thing that I'm imagining in my head, so it wasn't fully huge amounts. There's, you know, one can possibly imagine, as I say, so it's 18 for that. Texture was, yeah, beautifully light sponge, nice amount of chocolate to crunch through, and the orange jelly to be going through. So yeah, once again we've got another 10 out of 10 for texture. Well done. I can see why you are the top dog for Jaffa cakes. Right, now as I say, we're on to a bit of a wild card in the form of Schär, which are providing a gluten-free version. So wheat-free and no palm oil. Wonderful. I don't normally buy gluten-free. I have no need to normally, as far as I'm aware anyway. But I'm up to seeing if these can compare with our good old McVities or so on. That was weird. I got a drier texture. Not quite like the dry, crispy of the other ones, but it just felt dry. You had a flavour very similar to sort of like a bran or barley, rye type base to it, which maybe from what the ingredients are to help make it the wheat-free, gluten-free. Flavour though, not overly convinced. I mean, I'd say with that sort of branny backing to it, it's given a different profile in some ways. Do I want that to it? If they'd outset and done one like that quite specifically, advertised it as such, I'd probably be interested in trying it. And you know, if you got the balance right, it would no doubt be a great combination. However, I feel it's not quite in the right balance. You know, it's a recipe that needs tweaking. It's going to be 39. Yeah, it needs just a little work on to bring it round to being a nicely rounded, sort of that earthy bran flavour backed with a cut through of orange. Accuracy, I think it's good, but you've got that extra flavour coming through. So it's going to be 14 because it's just not what I'm thinking. You know, if you'd have made it with a plainer flavour on your sponge, it wouldn't be so much of an issue. But unfortunately, it wasn't. So 14. Texture, yeah, it's, they had that kind of drier feel to it, which is unfortunately slightly disappointing. And there was a slight grit to it, not much, but unfortunately I'm going to knock it down to a 5. As I say, it's a different kind of dryness to the Sainsbury's and so on, which felt like it'd just been overcooked and turned into a biscuit, whereas this just felt like it had no moisture in it. So that's where we are. Okay, this brings us on to Marks and Spencer's. Yeah, that's what I was expecting really. Could it be improved? Yes, the flavour could be improved. There's something to it that just knocking it off the top marks. So it's going to be 48 still, so still really good. Flavour accuracy. Yeah, as I say, there was something just niggling away that doesn't seem perfect. I think it was probably through the sponge or the interaction with the chocolate maybe. I'm not sure, but still good for 18 points on the accuracy. Texture. Yeah. It's possibly because of the shape being so different from the other ones that you didn't have the same kind of way to eat it, and it didn't react in the mouth quite the same. So this could be a 9. Possibly if I'd just started on with these, it'd be a 10 and there wouldn't be any issues. But it just seemed slightly different because of the, possibly, as I say, the shape, throwing things around. Who's to say? Me. 9. Okay, and our final contender is Waitrose. Only one offering a packet like this versus the boxed form of all the rest. Okay. Interesting, that was slightly different. So the flavour on the orange seemed more like an orange juice from concentrate, you know, when you've got that. It doesn't taste like orange juice, but you know it's orange juice. Not a bad flavour. And they were obviously quite a bit smaller, being the mini ones. Flavour. I do believe I shall offer up 40. It was good, but just slightly odd as well. Accuracy, I'd say things just didn't quite hit the mark right. 16. Texture, slightly crispier, drier one. Also you had a slight grainier texture. 9's not as bad as any of the previous ones where I've given such comments to, but it's only gonna get you a 6 for texture because, as I say, the slight imperfections. Okay, and there we have it. I guess that was a lot more surprising to see, in some ways, how bad they could get. Quite a shame, really. Quite like Jaffa cakes. It was well suggested, so thank you once again. However, of course, it comes down to the winners and losers. In this instance, the loser was Wedel. I guess it just didn't come together. You got a chance to redeem yourself when it comes to part 2 in the flavours, because I believe there's a couple of other ones you've got to throw into the mix. Hopefully you can redeem yourselves there. Over to the winners, as it is winners. We've got Morrisons and the Marks and Spencers. The Morrisons, I have to say, is great value, coming in great flavour, fully recommend it. M&S had a wow, that's the proper zing kind of, if you want a bit of bite from your orange back at you, then I fully recommend you go for those. Unfortunately, downside is those with the extra cost, so it depends how much you want that extra little zing to it. But both of those coming in rather well at 92. Congratulations. So, ladies and gents, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it may have even inspired you to go out and have another Jaffa cake or two. I'll see you in part 2. And of course, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and generally just get in touch, and hope you've enjoyed the show. So, see you next time. Goodbye.